I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to my astrological take on how this month's full moon in Capricorn may affect us all. So let's get straight on to the main event and get the wonderful Jerry to bring up the wonderful chart of the full moon in Capricorn. There we go. I hope you can see it all right. And let's have a think about this because it is quite an interesting chart. And even though it comes just a day after the summer equinox, the summer solstice, it nevertheless, the energies have changed subtly. So I've got another video up on my channel, which you may or may not have seen, where I talk about the summer solstice. And in this one, we need to talk about the full moon in Capricorn. And I just want to check something because actually there are two full moons in Capricorn over this next period. So we've got the one on the 22nd of June, and then the next one is on the 21st of July. And this one that we have on the 22nd is with the moon at, and I've got it written down somewhere, the actual degree is 1 degree and 6 minutes. So the second one is at, and I'll go back to my other chart, is at 29 degrees and 8 minutes. So there's something about the next 4 weeks that I think is actually quite important to be aware of from the energy of today's full moon. So if we look at the chart, we have cardinal energy on the 4 quadrants. So there's something here about initiative, action, and being proactive and doing stuff or doing things. And astrologically, a full moon in Capricorn does bring an emphasis on career, on discipline, and long-term planning. But it also encourages us to be practical and think strategically. So it's really quite interesting coming on top of the summer solstice energy chart, which was really in some ways quite nebulous. It was a little bit difficult. It was all about being still, don't do too much over the next 3 months, take things easy, go with the flow. And now here we are with this rather definite kind of full moon in Capricorn. So if we actually look at what the energies are doing, we have the full moon in Capricorn up there in the 9th house. Now the 9th house, of course, and this is for London. So I've done this, it's for 0207 British summertime on the 22nd of June. And the moon is in the 9th house about things that are overseas, things that are at a distance. So there is something decisive about what happens through this full moon, which brings the world together in its collective capacity to sort out the current problems. And they are underlined by the fact that this is a full moon in Capricorn, government, discipline, professional responsibilities. It's about hard work, it's about ambition, and it's also about reminding us to maintain a healthy balance between our lifestyle, our work, and the different aspects of our lives, our private life, our relationships, our family, our alone time. So that is the general sense of what the full moon is about. And here it is in the 9th house about things at a distance. So as you know, when the moon is full, of course, it's always opposing the sun, and the sun is in Cancer. And the sun, Venus and Mercury, as they were for the summer solstice, are still all conjunct. So, and they are all still, of course, in this wide square with Neptune. So we have this energy of Neptune squaring the full moon in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer. So it's presenting a T-square. This means we've got this kind of tug of war, pull, energy pulling. It reminds me of when I had the television on this morning while I was just getting ready and listening in the background to politicians discussing the forthcoming election in the United Kingdom. And I thought, wow, there is so much determination for them to get their message across and their thoughts across that they're actually not getting into the feeling of the people. And there is something about this full moon in Capricorn which I think invites the collective, governments, institutions, big companies, big industries, to be in touch with the people. Because Cancer is about home. Cancer is about the planet we live on. In this instance, this is where the sun is, conjunct Venus, our love for the planet, our love for giving it beautiful, wonderful things, our love for nurturing it, our love for communicating our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas to each other, to the community, on how we can make our collective energies on our planet work better. So Saturn, there's two other really interesting aspects in this chart. If you look to where Saturn is in the 12th house, at 19 degrees of Pisces, getting ready to go retrograde, it's actually making a trine, and that's to the asteroid Athena, which is in Scorpio. So if you find a Scorpio, it's not showing on this chart that I've got here, but it is showing on this chart that I've got here. So that was good. Okay, so Athena is at 21 degrees of Scorpio. And Saturn trining Athena is very much bringing us in touch with the feminine energies that we really do need to remind ourselves about with this energy. Cancer is a feminine energy. Capricorn is a feminine energy. Saturn, although it always feels somehow that it is a masculine energy, it's actually a feminine archetype. And so this aspect of Saturn trining the asteroid Athena is, Athena represents wisdom, strategic thinking, creative intelligence, and feminine strength. So there's an underlying support structure with this full moon, helped by Athena's trine to Saturn. That, of course, is our planet of commitment, of boundaries, of structure, truth, being sensible, and showing us that any decisions made around this full moon will stand the test of time. So maybe it will be that this is the kind of energy where a lot of people, say in the UK, with the energies all building up towards the election, will be thinking, no, I've heard what's being said, I'm aware of what's being said, and I've made my decision. And I'm clear about whom I wish to give my support to. So that could be part of what this Athena energy, because Athena is so much about justice and truth and raising our vibration with Saturn's supportive structure, saying, I want a more supportive structure in government. Enough of the unreliability, the lack of integrity that has been shown by a lot of governments, including the UK. I'm not as familiar with, of course, the United States politics, but I do know that there is going to be an election in November, and that is going to be mostly affected strategically by the energies that build up over the next few months, especially because they will have, big rallies to discuss whom their prospective candidate is going to be. And this brings me to the point of the fixed star Algol. Now, Algol is currently conjunct Uranus at 25 degrees of Taurus. Now, basically, Algol is always at 25 degrees of Taurus, so we have to talk about it the other way round. Uranus is conjunct Algol. Now, Algol is a planet or a star, let me get this right, who is associated with the myth of Medusa. Now, Medusa was the Gorgon whose gaze turned people to stone. This is conjunct Uranus. Now, if you personally have any personal planets conjunct Algol in your natal chart, I have my sun in Taurus at 24 degrees. I don't know whether it means that I can turn people to stone with my gaze if I am displeased with them. I think actually in the past, probably when I was growing up and things happened or people said things to me that I didn't like, I probably did give them a look that would turn them to stone. And maybe that has been supported for me by the positive side of Algol, because Algol also has a very dark side, reminding us throughout the astrology of Uranus in Taurus, and with in particular this full moon in Capricorn, of the intense, fearsome reputation that this star has, because it is linked to danger, destructions, beheadings. I think that's really quite difficult, and very intense and challenging energies. It's considered one of the most malefic fixed stars, and it can symbolize intense, challenging aspects. So it can be losing control, and because of its association with the myth of Medusa, and remember Perseus, who cut off the Gorgon's head, the Medusa head, used the Gorgon's head to his advantage in a positive way, because he would hold it up when he was faced with his enemies. He'd keep it in a bag and then pull it out and turn his enemies to stone. And I wonder whether there's something about some kind of shift, turn, switch in the energies of this full moon, coming so speedily on the heels of the solstice, of the summer solstice, that means there is a collective kind of move, even if it's on an unconscious level, of I've had enough of this. I've had enough of all these politicians charming us with what they're going to do, with their ideas, with their plans, with their politics, with promises they never keep, with their sparkling teeth because they use the best toothpaste, with their smart suits and their, beautifully done hair. Where is their shadow? And you see, I think Algol and Uranus are presenting aspects of the shadow. Let me explain, because I'm going to go back to my full moon in Capricorn notes, because I've talked about the trine from Saturn to Juno, so that is supportive of the feminine aspects. There is also this other aspect between Juno in Virgo. Saturn in Pisces is in opposition to the asteroid Juno in Virgo. So you've got Saturn trining the asteroid Athena, who's in Scorpio, and Saturn in Pisces in opposition to the asteroid Juno in Virgo. Now, Juno represents much fuller representation of marriage relationships and partnerships. And as a little kind of tip, if you are looking for that in your own natal chart, look to where Juno is. Don't spend too much time looking at the Venus aspects, because Venus is kind of on a higher octave. And Juno is really the asteroid that will be present when you meet that person you consider the one for you for the now. Because I'm a little bit I'm a little bit unusual. I'm not really into twin flames and soulmates. I think we do have soulmates, but I think we have many soulmates because I believe we have a soul group of which we will meet various aspects of this soul group throughout our lifetime. It doesn't mean they have to become our lifelong partner. In some instances, that may well happen. But my feeling and my sense through my experience of life is that we have a relationship for the state of growth that we have reached at this particular point in our lifetime. So when we are in our 20s and we think back to whom we are with, when we're in our 30s, even if we're with the one we were with in our 20s, we might in our 30s be thinking, oh, actually, I quite like that person over there. They feel more in tune with where I'm going. So do you see what I mean? There's not necessarily this one person that we have to search for and spend a lifetime, breaking our heart trying to find them. They're not there. There is the one for now. Because there is only now. But the now will constantly change because we change it. But coming back to the astrology, there is this underlying support structure with this full moon, helped by Athena's trine to Saturn and helping us make commitment, make boundaries, and enduring or ensuring that truth and sensibility prevail with decisions we make around this time. Now, we can but hope that the powers that be will also listen to this video, because if they do, they might actually realize they need to take a step back and be careful they are not turned to stone by their own shadow. And I'll come to that in a minute. If we come back to this very proactive chart, full moons are about endings. I think there is just this collective move with this full moon that we all, on some level, with the various elections happening around the planet, we've all actually made up our mind who we want to see given an opportunity. Even if it means that whole structure breaking down and, voting for someone who is a complete rank outsider. We will have made our point. I want to just move on a bit to just remind you about these strong feminine energies, because the full moon, I feel, is inviting feminine consciousness to present us with this kind of empathic, kind and structured decision making around potential endings, to the significant changes in our close one-to-one relationships, so that it would be viewed as very adult, tough love. It's like we've got to grow up. It's as if we have to really go within with that Neptune square into the depths of the ocean. There are so many other aspects in this full moon that I could talk about, because it is full of energy, but I think the most striking one is the feminine energy. And what I want to say is that, you know, there's a lot of talk about the rise of the divine feminine, but it was never going to have an easy ride. So this full moon presents us with the cold, harsh, Medusa-like realities of the direction that the dark shadow energy on our planet wishes to take us. It's as if this dark shadow, and I think this is really quite scary, wishes to take us back about 300 or 400, 500 years. I know this is kind of controversial perhaps for some people, but there is a sense with the move to the far right of the divine feminine being crushed by the masculine shadow. Where is the positive, powerful, grown-up masculine? That's what we've lost touch with. And the duality that there's always going to be light, dark, sunrise, sunset, new moon, full moon. We have to be very careful that the feminine is not turned to stone because the shadow side of the masculine gets hold of the Gorgon Medusa's head. Because then we become the automated robots that perhaps there are some dark shadow aspects would like to pull out of us. So what we need is for this dark shadow, the collective shadow needs to grow up. And that's the collective masculine shadow, because sadly it seems to have more masculine aspects to it than feminine aspects. And it's all got out of balance. We need a conjunctio, as Jung would call it. We need the sacred marriage of the masculine and the feminine, a coming together of these two energies. Now, things are always darkest before the dawn. And, you know, Neptune's presence in this full moon is about, if the divine feminine is struggling, it's because the shadow side is being broken down slowly. What we need is a healthy, inquiring opposition for us all to challenge ourselves in a constructive way, to enable us all to grow and embrace a positive future built on love, kindness, and the ability to help others rise rather than trample on them on the way to the top. There is an element, and I just want to see where I wrote this down, because if you want to check out my blog, because I'm using that as my kind of touchstone in this, but there is this sense of the masculine shadow wanting to take us back several hundred years, because, you know, it doesn't serve the traditional masculine shadow to have the feminine energy in a upper position, in a powerful position of empathy, understanding, collective coming together. And if we don't want to go back 300 or 400 years, we need to act now. And we need to take on some Medusa energy and say enough to this dark, childlike masculine shadow. This full moon is about endings endings that have long been overdue. We may not see the endings specifically within the energy of the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I think this is more long-term energy that we're picking up here. It feels far bigger, far more powerful, especially because it comes on the heels of the summer solstice. So, lastly, I just want to talk about Jupiter swiftly moving through Gemini. Jupiter is opposite the sign it rules. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And Sagittarius and Jupiter are about higher learning, education, about seeing the bigger picture, about expansion. This Jupiter in Gemini we can use in a very positive way to not overthink, but to broaden our horizons, to see the bigger picture. Because if we rise up in our soul, in our being, in our consciousness, and have that eagle sight down to the planet, you know, like when you're in an aeroplane and you look out and it's as if everything is so small and so just how can all of that have all this going on, all this conflict, all this war, all this killing, all this destructive behavior? Turn Algol's energy into something positive. Let the feminine rise up and tell the divine masculine shadow, because there is good divine masculine out there. Please don't think I'm disrespecting the whole of the masculine energy. I'm not. I am trying to encourage the masculine shadow, which has got caught in the dark ages, to grow up. We can assist it. We don't have to turn it to stone. We can actually empower the shadow side to grow up, because then we will have a much healthier planet. And then our communities have far better opportunities of living together in harmony. Everything is out of balance. The balance is just, and it reflects on us. We get dis-ease. We get this, strange weather all over the planet. This full moon in Capricorn sets a tone to coincide with the summer solstice, that for all of us, and the feminine included, tough love, and we need to grow up. We need to find the adult part of ourselves. We need to tear ourselves away from the addiction or the addictive kind of, the sort of how the addiction to AI, how attractive it is, how it brings out the laziness in us, that we just want to sit back and go, oh, let me ask, Google chat or GP chat or whatever it is, or let me just Google it or Yahoo it or whoever else it is. Let's collectively start with ourselves and learn to be independent, responsible human beings. This is what Capricorn is about. So each of you individually, and it doesn't matter what zodiac sign you're born under, our kind of task, if you like, for the next few months is to attend to our own personal growth, to really work on growing up. And if we can do that, we will really empower the planet to make the right choices with these various elections around the planet, so that we even if we haven't got to the position that we need to ultimately get to with the right people in charge, we will have made some headway. Because remember, the darkest hour is before the dawn. And this, this energy of the next 3 months, which I talk about in the summer solstice, is, things can get a bit bleak with this Capricorn energy of the full moon before they start to get better. But this is a time of reflection, of using that Neptunian energy to go within, to go into the depths of the feminine ocean. Remember, we came from the bellies of our mothers, from the amniotic fluids, the waters in the womb. Water is where we come from. Water is where we need to psychologically and spiritually keep returning to feed us, to refresh us. Our bodies are, 98% water. So we really need to be aware of this, of the depths of the emotions to help us grow. If we all grow individually, including the shadow side of the masculine that is caught in trying to avoid being slain by the Gorgon, we need to just raise our game, raise our vision, get that eagle sight. And I'm going to stop there because I'm just going on and on and on. And basically the full moon is a very powerful one. And I think it sets the tone for what we're going to see unfold over the next few weeks, especially to do with elections. But I think what it is that individually all over the world, we are starting to become independent in spite of what governments might think or want, because they want the collective to be of a single mind. No, that's not going to happen. We've all moved beyond that, haven't we? Okay, on that note, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and go to my website if you would like to read the accompanying blogs. And if you would like to get notifications of when the blogs are available, then go to the homepage of pennydix.com and you will see a little box on the homepage that says email subscription. And then you'll get notified when the blogs are up. And the other thing I want to say is I'm not taking any more bookings now before September. Unless it's a real emergency, then email me privately and I'll see what I can do. But I am definitely not working in August and hopefully not in July either. So that's my plan, because I am taking care of me. And I want you to do the same. Okay. There we go. That's it. And lots of love from me to you. And remember the Love Penny newsletters up on my website. That's always good for a laugh. And anyway, thanks for joining me. And I really look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.